There is a truth buried beneath the noise of this world. A truth the world does not want you to see, and it surely does not want you to understand. It's a truth that cannot be comprehended with the carnal mind, for it is spiritual in nature, divine in origin. It is this that some are chosen. Set apart, handpicked by God before the foundations of the earth were laid. And let me tell you, friend, being chosen is not what the world thinks it is. It is not glitter, not glamour, not applause, not ease. They don't tell you this about chosen children. They don't tell you that when you're chosen by God, you will often be rejected by men. You will feel like a stranger in your own house, like an outcast in your own land. You will walk into rooms and not feel welcome. You will speak and your words will fall to the ground. You will try to fit in, but something deep within you will never let you. Because the truth is, chosen people are not designed to blend in. They are made to stand out, and the world despises what it cannot define. People love the idea of being special, but they don't understand the price of being set apart. You see, the calling of God is not a crown you wear. It is a cross you carry. And sometimes that cross will be heavy. It will cut into your shoulders. It will bleed into your soul. It will force you down to your knees, but it will also raise you up. Because the chosen are not lifted by their own strength. They are carried by the hand of Almighty God. They don't tell you that being chosen means being tested. Oh yes, the fire will come, the storms will beat upon your house. The night will stretch longer than the day. You will be pruned, refined, broken, and rebuilt. And through it all, people will wonder if God is even with you. They'll say, if he's so favored, why is he struggling? Why is she suffering? But what they don't understand is that the struggle is the sign. The resistance is the evidence. For whom the Lord loves, he disciplines. Whom he anoints, he refines. They don't tell you that chosen children are often misunderstood. Joseph was misunderstood. David was misunderstood. Jesus himself was misunderstood. When Joseph told his dream, his brothers hated him for it. When David showed up to the battlefield, his own brother questioned his heart. When Jesus began his ministry, even his own people said, "Isn't this the carpenter's son?" Being chosen means walking a lonely road. It means being called arrogant when you're just confident in your God. It means being labeled rebellious when you're simply obedient to a higher voice. They don't tell you that chosen children are attacked early. The enemy always goes after what threatens him most. When Moses was born, Pharaoh ordered all the male babies to be killed. When Jesus was born, Herod tried to slaughter every child under 2. Why? Because hell tries to kill purpose in its infancy. If you've been under attack since you were young, it's not because you were weak. It's because you were dangerous. The enemy saw something in you before you saw it in yourself. He saw the mark. He saw the mental. He saw the mission. They don't tell you that chosen children carry burdens others do not. You'll feel the weight of your family's pain. You'll carry the heaviness of generational struggles. You'll be the one God uses to break cycles, to shatter strongholds, to open new doors. And sometimes you'll ask, why me? But the better question is, why not me? You were chosen to stand in the gap. You were chosen to tear down what was never of God and build what glorifies him. You were chosen to interrupt the enemy's plan and activate heaven's agenda. They don't tell you that chosen people don't always feel chosen. There will be days you feel forgotten. There will be seasons you feel abandoned. You will question the call, doubt the dream, wrestle with the silence. But chosen people don't walk by feelings. They walk by faith. Faith that says, even when I can't see the way, I trust the one who leads. Faith that says, even when I don't feel his presence, I know he's near. Faith that says, even if I'm in the valley, he's still my shepherd. They don't tell you that chosen children are often hidden. Before David fought Goliath, he was hidden in the fields. Before Joseph ruled Egypt, he was hidden in a prison. Before Jesus began his ministry, he was hidden in obscurity. God hides his best until the appointed time. And if you're hidden right now, it's not because you're forgotten, it's because you're being prepared. God doesn't promote without process. He doesn't elevate without equipping. So don't despise the hidden season. That's where oil is crushed. That's where character is built. That's where intimacy with God is forged. They don't tell you that chosen children are often ridiculed. The same mouths that praise you when you rise will curse you when you fall. The same people who cheered you on when you were average will turn their backs when you step into your calling. Because your obedience convicts their compromise. Your fire exposes their apathy. Your anointing stirs up what's dormant in them. You become a mirror they don't want to look into. But don't shrink to make them comfortable. Don't dim your light to make them feel less threatened. You weren't chosen to be accepted. You were chosen to be effective. They don't tell you that being chosen means letting go. You'll have to let go of plans. Let go of dreams that were never God's to begin with. The higher He calls you, the lighter you must travel. Not everyone can go where you're going. Not everything can come with you. Some relationships will be seasonal. Some opportunities will fall through. Some doors will close without explanation. But trust this, when God subtracts, it's always to multiply. When He prunes, it's always to bear more fruit. When He removes, it's always to protect what's coming. They don't tell you that chosen children get weary. You'll get tired of always being the strong one. Tired of carrying others while no one carries you. Tired of being the example, the intercessor, the leader. But even in your weariness, you'll find strength you didn't know you had. Because those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Your strength doesn't come from applause. It comes from the altar. It comes from a place of surrender. A place where you say, Lord, I can't do this without you. They don't tell you that chosen children often walk by faith, not sight. You won't always have a clear map. You won't always have the full picture, but you'll have a word. Will be enough. That promise will sustain you. That vision will keep you moving because chosen children learn to follow the cloud, not the crowd. They learn to walk through Red Seas and wildernesses, knowing that if God brought them to it, He'll bring them through it. They don't tell you that being chosen means dying to yourself, dying to ego, dying to pride, dying to comfort. There's a death before every resurrection, a crushing before every elevation, a breaking before every blessing. And if you've been broken lately, crushed lately, misunderstood lately, count it all joy, because God is doing something eternal in you, something the eyes of men cannot see, something the mouths of doubters cannot cancel. They don't tell you that chosen children have access to a power that this world cannot offer. You have divine authority. Heaven backs you. Angels surround you. The Spirit of the living God dwells within you. And when you walk into a room, darkness trembles. Not because of who you are, but because of who sent you. You carry light. You carry oil. You carry destiny. They don't tell you that the call is costly, but they also don't tell you the reward is eternal. That every tear you cry, every night you endure, every battle you fight, it's not in vain. There's a crown waiting, there's a purpose unfolding, there's a legacy being written in the ink of your obedience. They don't tell you that sometimes the only thing that will keep you going is your love for Him. Not results, not outcomes, not recognition, just love. Love for a Savior who saw you in your mess and still chose you. Love for a Father who never gave up on you. Love for a God who says, you are mine. They don't tell you, but I will. You are chosen. Not because you're perfect, not because you're qualified, but because God saw something in you the world could not. He saw a heart that would say yes, a spirit that would trust Him, a soul that would burn for truth in a world drowning in lies. You may walk alone, but you are never alone. You may be misunderstood, but you are not mistaken. You may be rejected by men, but you are accepted by God. So lift your head, chosen child. Keep walking, keep believing, keep burning. Because what they don't tell you, He's already told you in His Word. And what He says will never return void. Would you like this turned into a video script or formatted for a dramatic reading? They don't tell you that being chosen means walking into rooms you didn't ask to enter and standing in places you never imagined reaching. And when you get there, people will look at you sideways, wondering how you arrived. They'll try to trace your steps, but they won't be able to because your journey wasn't orchestrated by man. It wasn't based on a resume, a degree, or a network. It was orchestrated by the sovereign hand of God. You were sent, not selected. You were a position, not promoted. And when God sends you, no man can send you back. They don't tell you that chosen people sometimes carry more questions than answers. You'll wonder why the pain won't leave. You'll wonder why the breakthrough hasn't come. You'll wonder why you're still waiting while others are celebrating. But even in the wondering, there's a whisper, a still small voice saying, hold on, I'm not finished. I didn't bring you this far to leave you. I didn't anoint you for nothing, because the anointing does not come without purpose. And if you are anointed, then you are appointed, even if you haven't arrived yet. They don't tell you that chosen children often learn in the wilderness. They don't sit in classrooms of comfort. No, their school is the desert, their textbook is trial, their instructor is silence. And their diploma is trust. They learn to praise when there's nothing left. They learn to hope when all seems lost. They learn to believe when everything around them screams doubt. And when they come out of that wilderness, they come out different. Their walk is steadier, their voice carries weight. Their prayers shake foundations. They don't tell you the chosen people are often called to speak when no one listens, called to build when no one helps, called to love when no one returns it. But still they do it, not for applause, not for admiration, but because obedience is better than sacrifice. Because love is not a feeling, it's a decision. Because purpose is not about convenience, it's about commitment. And chosen children understand that their yes to God must echo louder than the no's of man. They don't tell you that the cost of the calling will sometimes break your heart. You'll love people who betray you. You'll sow into places that never return a harvest. You'll pray for those who mock you. You'll give to those who only take. But even through the betrayal, through the loneliness, through the loss, your spirit will remain anchored. Because chosen people are rooted in something deeper. They don't draw from the surface, they draw from the well. A well that never runs dry, a well that flows from the Spirit of the living God. They don't tell you that being chosen sometimes means losing battles you thought you should have won. You prayed for won't open. Opportunities you believed for won't come to pass. People you trusted will walk away. And you'll ask the Lord why. But the answer will come softly, because I have something better. And sometimes the blessing is not in what He gives, but in what He withholds. Because He sees the full picture. He knows the end from the beginning, and what looks like a loss is often the setup for a greater victory. They don't tell you that chosen children feel everything more deeply. They see through eyes that discern beyond the surface. They hear the groan in people's voices. They sense the brokenness beneath the laughter. Their hearts ache for justice, for righteousness, for revival. And sometimes it's exhausting. It feels like a burden too heavy to carry. But that burden is holy. That fire is sacred. It's not meant to consume you. It's meant to drive you, to push you into the arms of the one who placed it there. They don't tell you that chosen people often have to forgive over and over again. Not because the offense isn't real, but because unforgiveness becomes a chain. And chosen people can't afford to live chained. They're called to live free. Free to love. Free to speak truth. Free to worship without bitterness. Free to walk in peace. And so they forgive, they release. Not because they feel like it, but because they must. Because the oil they carry flows best through a clean vessel. They don't tell you that when you're chosen, your life will not look like others. You won't take the same path. You won't follow the same timelines. You won't be able to copy someone else's formula and get the same result. Because God is writing a custom story with your life. A story that doesn't need validation. A story that will confuse the proud and lift the humble. A story that is marked not by ease, but by glory. And the more you try to be like others, the more frustrated you will become. Because your calling is yours alone. Tailor-made, heaven-crafted, spirit-breathed. They don't tell you that chosen children experience spiritual warfare at levels others don't. You'll face battles in your mind. Arrows of anxiety, lies of inadequacy. You'll feel unseen forces pushing against your purpose. But let me tell you something. The attack is the confirmation. The resistance proves the reality of your assignment, and while the warfare may be intense, your authority is greater. You've been given power to trample serpents. You've been clothed in the armor of God. And though the weapon may form, it shall not prosper. They don't tell you that chosen people often cry in silence. They wear smiles in public and tears in private. They lead while bleeding. They serve while suffering. They lift others while feeling low themselves, but God sees. He sees every hidden tear, every sleepless night, every unseen sacrifice. And He does not forget. He is not unjust. Your labor is not in vain. The harvest is coming. The reward is being prepared. The tables are being set in the presence of your enemies. They don't tell you that being chosen means becoming comfortable with mystery. God won't always tell you why. He won't always explain what's next, but He will always be there. In the questions, in the waiting, in the wrestling. And if you learn to trust Him in the dark, He will show you treasures you never knew existed. Revelation that cannot be taught, only lived. Intimacy that cannot be borrowed, only forged. Wisdom that cannot be bought, only birthed through fire. They don't tell you that chosen children must often walk with scars. Scars from battles survived. Scars from wounds forgiven. Scars from doors slammed shut and paths turned cold. But those scars are not shameful. They are holy. They are proof that you've been through the fire and didn't burn. Through the waters and didn't drown. They are evidence of survival, of grace, of resurrection power. They don't tell you that chosen people are often called to be pioneers, to go where no one else has gone, to break ground others feared to tread. And pioneers face more pressure, more criticism, more isolation. But they also carry more vision, more courage, more promise. Because God doesn't give ordinary assignments to extraordinary people. He gives them to surrendered ones. And chosen children learn that the price of being first is often being alone. They don't tell you that the deeper the calling, the deeper the crushing. God does not use people greatly until He has broken them deeply. Not to harm, but to humble. Not to weaken, but to prepare. So if you feel broken, don't panic, don't run, don't give up. It's the process, the sacred preparation, the heavenly shaping. You are being molded for something you cannot yet carry, but soon will. They don't tell you that chosen children must guard their spirit. Guard what they see, guard what they hear, guard what they allow into their hearts. Because they cannot afford contamination, they cannot afford compromise. What they carry is too precious. Their oil is too costly. And so they live differently, pray differently, worship differently. Not out of pride, but out of necessity, out of awareness. I don't tell you that being chosen doesn't mean being sinless. It doesn't mean being perfect. It means surrender. It means that even in your flaws, God's grace still flows. Even in your mess-ups, His mercy still reaches. And He uses your weakness to show His strength. He uses your story. Yes, even the broken parts to shine His glory. Because the chosen are not chosen because they are good, they are chosen because He is good. They don't tell you that sometimes your reward won't be in this life. That not every thank you will be heard. Not every prayer will be answered the way you hoped. Not every dream will be realized in the time you expected. But chosen people are playing the long game. They are living for eternity, for the moment when they hear, "Well done." And that moment will make every tear worth it, every struggle worth it. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every silent prayer. It will all be worth it. They don't tell you, but now you know. And now that you know, you must decide. Will you shrink back or rise up? Will you blend in or stand out? Will you bury your calling or walk boldly in it? Because being chosen is not a feeling, it is a responsibility. It is a mantle, and it's not for the faint of heart. But oh, the joy, oh, the peace, oh, the purpose, to walk hand in hand with the God of the universe, to be used by Him, shaped by Him, led by Him. And if you are chosen, then I say to you today, don't you dare quit. Don't you dare walk away. Don't you dare believe the lie that you are not enough. Because He who called you is faithful. He who began a good work in you will carry it to completion. You are not random. You are not a mistake. You are chosen, chosen for such a time as this, chosen to rise, to speak, to lead, to love. They don't tell you that the weight of the calling can press down so hard that even your bones feel it. It's not just an emotional burden, it's spiritual. It's not something you can shake off with a nap or escape with a vacation. It lingers, it follows you, it wakes you up in the night and whispers to you in the day. It reminds you that you are not your own, that your life is not for your pleasure, your fame, or your comfort. It is for His glory. And glory always comes with a price. They don't tell you that sometimes being chosen means staying silent when you want to speak, and speaking when you'd rather stay silent. It means holding your tongue when slander rises against you. It means turning the other cheek even when everything in you wants to fight back. It means knowing you could prove them wrong, but choosing to let God be your defender. And when He defends, it's always better than anything you could do. Because when God vindicates a chosen one, the same mouths that mocked will be the mouths that marvel. They don't tell you yes to God will cost you the approval of people. Friends will distance themselves. Some will say you've changed. Others will say you've gone too deep, gotten too serious. And maybe you have. Maybe you've gotten serious about purity, about purpose, about truth, about holiness. And when the fire of God begins to purify you, it naturally burns off the things and people that no longer fit where He's taking you. It's not personal, it's prophetic, it's necessary. They don't tell you that your prayers will shift. You'll stop praying for comfort and start praying for character. You'll stop asking for open doors and start asking for discernment. You'll stop pleading for platforms and start crying out for presence. Because the longer you walk with God, the more you realize that power without purity is dangerous. That influence without intimacy is hollow. That doing great things for God is nothing if you're not being transformed by Him. They don't tell you that chosen people have to live with a holy discomfort. There's a restlessness in your spirit that won't go away. Even when things are good, even when blessings flow, there's something deeper calling you. It's the Spirit stirring you, saying there's more. And not more things, but more of Him. More depth, more surrender, more revelation. And so you press in, you go deeper. Even when it costs you your pride, your plans, and your preferences, they don't tell you that sometimes God will hide you, that He will tuck you away while others rise. You'll feel ready, you'll feel anointed. But doors won't open, platforms won't come. It will seem like you've been overlooked. But in truth, you've been protected. God hides those He loves until the time is right, until the oil is pure, until the character matches the calling. Because what good is a spotlight if your soul isn't strong enough to stand in it? So if you feel hidden, thank Him. The hidden place is the holy place. It's the place where roots go deep, where intimacy is cultivated, where dependence is born. They don't tell you that chosen people are called to see beyond the now. They're given eyes that look past what is into what will be. You'll see potential in broken people. You'll see beauty in ashes. You'll speak life into dry bones even when everyone else has given up. But that kind of vision is lonely, because people will think you're naive, too hopeful, too spiritual, but they don't see what you see. They don't feel what you feel. And that's okay, because the vision wasn't given to them. It was given to you. Guard it, protect it, nurture it. And when the time comes, speak it with boldness. They don't tell you that sometimes the miracles don't happen around you. They happen in you. That sometimes the greatest breakthrough is not the door that opens, but the pride that dies. Not the disease that's healed, but the bitterness that's broken. Not the money that comes, but the greed that leaves. And chosen people learn to rejoice in the inner victories just as much as the outer ones, because they know that God is far more concerned with who you're becoming than what you're achieving. They don't tell you that your past will try to chase you down. That guilt will whisper. That shame will try to return. That the enemy will remind you of every failure, every shortcoming, every time you fell short. But chosen people don't live in condemnation. They live in grace. They know they've been washed, cleansed, made new, not by their works, but by His blood. And when the enemy comes with accusations, they answer with identity. I am redeemed. I am forgiven. I am chosen. They don't tell you that some days you won't feel chosen at all. You'll feel tired, forgotten, small. You'll wonder if you really heard God right. You'll question if you really have what it takes. But feelings are not facts. And your calling is not based on how you feel. It's based on what He spoke. And God never lies. He never changes His mind. If He called you, He will equip you. If He set you apart, He will sustain you. Even on the days you feel nothing, His hand is still on you. They don't tell you that being chosen means walking by faith when there's nothing to see. That you'll have to keep building when you don't have blueprints. That you'll have to keep going when the road disappears. That you'll have to keep praising when there's no breakthrough yet. But faith is not about what you see, it's about who you trust. And chosen people are experts in trust. Not because they're special, but because they've had no other choice. Because when everything else fails, trust is the only thing that keeps them going. They don't tell you that obedience will cost you everything. That you might have to lay down dreams you've had for years. That you'll have to walk away from comfort. That you'll say yes, not knowing what's on the other side. But chosen people know that delayed obedience is still disobedience. So they say yes quickly, even when it's hard, because the voice of God is too precious to ignore. Because pleasing Him is more important than pleasing anyone else. They don't tell you that people will misunderstand you. They'll mislabel you. They'll question your motives. They'll say, "Who do you think you are?" And in those moments, you'll have to remember who called you, who anointed you, who gave you the vision. If you live for people's applause, you'll die from their rejection. But if you live for God's approval, you'll never be shaken. You'll walk with quiet confidence, not arrogance, because you know you're not worthy. But He chose you anyway. That unchosen children will have to love deeply in a world that has grown cold. That you'll have to stay tender in a culture that celebrates pride. That you'll have to forgive people who never say sorry. That you'll have to bless those who curse you. But love is the mark of the chosen. Not popularity, not perfection. Love. Real, sacrificial, unconditional love. And it's that love that'll change the world. Not your gifting, not your talent, not your intellect. Love is the greatest weapon you have. They don't tell you that you'll get tired, that there will be days you'll want to quit, days you'll question everything. But in those moments, something will rise up in you, a fire, a reminder, a promise. That you didn't choose this life, God chose you. That you didn't anoint yourself, He did. And if He brought you to it, He'll bring you through it. You'll remember the prophecies, the dreams, the moments He whispered your name, and suddenly quitting won't be an option. Because the one who called you is still writing you a story. They don't tell you that your story won't always make sense to others. That people will see the fruit but never understand the root. They'll see the blessing but never know the battles. They'll see the glory but never know the grind. But chosen people are not here to be understood. They're here to obey, to go where God sends them, to do what He asks, to live a life poured out, even if no one claps, even if no one notices. They don't tell you that being chosen means being set apart, that you can't go where everyone else goes, that you can't watch what everyone else watches, that your life must be different, not out of legalism, but out of love, because you've been marked, set apart, called out. And when you try to blend in, you'll feel it. That pull, that unrest, that divine discomfort. Because chosen people weren't made to fit in, they were made to stand out. They don't tell you that the calling is not just for platforms, it's for prayer closets. That the real power is not in your performance, but in your posture. That the secret place is not optional, it's essential. And chosen people don't visit the secret place occasionally, they live there, they dwell in it. Because they know that without Him they can do nothing. They don't rely on charisma, they rely on communion. They don't chase crowds, they chase the presence. They don't tell you that sometimes the evidence of God's hand is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of peace in the middle of it. That peace that makes no sense, that calm that guards your heart when everything around you is chaos. And chosen people carry that peace because they've learned how to cast their cares, how to trust without knowing, how to rest in the promise even while walking through the pain. They don't tell you that the oil you carry will cost you friendships, comfort, opportunities, but it's worth it. Because once you've tasted the anointing, once you've felt His presence, you'll never trade it for the world. You'll protect it, you'll value it, you'll live for it, because you know that the favor of man may open doors, but only the favor of God can keep you there. And chosen people live not for man's applause, but for heaven's affirmation. Would you like me to continue one more round to reach the full 6,000 word mark? Or are you looking to move into formatting or editing next? They don't tell you that sometimes the most powerful things God does in your life will happen in obscurity. Not on a stage, not in front of a crowd, not on a live stream, but in the quiet hours in the middle of the night when no one is watching. It's in those hidden places where he refines you, where he strips away everything that doesn't look like him, where he takes you through fire, not to destroy you, but to purify you, to prepare you. Because when you are chosen, you must first be broken before you can be truly used. They don't tell you that your calling won't always feel like a blessing. Sometimes it will feel like a burden, like a weight too heavy to carry. You'll look around and wonder why others seem so carefree, so unbothered, while you wrestle in the Spirit, why you cry in prayer, why you feel the pain of people's chains like they're your own. But that's what it means to be chosen, to carry what others don't, to feel what others can't, to stand in the gap, to intercede when others are asleep, to weep for souls you've never met simply because the Spirit of God is moving through you with compassion deeper than human understanding. They don't tell you that when God marks you, he ruins you for the ordinary. That after you've tasted the supernatural, you can't go back to normal. You can't go back to dry religion or lifeless routine. You can't pretend anymore. You can't fake it. Because your spirit has been awakened and nothing less than his presence will satisfy. You'll hunger for him, long for him. You'll crave that holy fire like breath in your lungs, and anything that distracts you from him will feel like poison in your soul. They don't tell you that sometimes God will remove people from your life not because they're evil, but because they're not equipped to walk with you where he's leading you. Not everyone who starts with you will finish with you. Not everyone who claps for you is called to build with you. And chosen people must learn to bless the exits as much as they celebrate the entrances, because God is doing something specific, something holy, and sometimes that means walking alone, at least for a season. But even in your solitude, you are never truly alone. He walks with you, talks with you, strengthens you. And that companionship is more than enough. They don't tell you that warfare will increase the moment you accept your calling. That the moment you say yes to God, hell says a no. The moment you step into your assignment, the enemy steps into attack. But take heart, warfare is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're doing something right. That your obedience is shaking something in the spirit realm. That darkness is nervous. That chains are beginning to rattle. So don't let the battle make you doubt the blessing. Let it remind you that you are dangerous to the kingdom of hell. They don't tell you that favor is often disguised as frustration. That sometimes God will close a door not to punish you, but to protect you. That rejection is actually redirection. That unanswered prayers are often the greatest blessings. Because when you're chosen, God doesn't just give you what you want, he gives you what you need. And he loves you too much to let you settle for less than your destiny. So when things don't go your way, trust his hand, trust his timing. Trust that he sees the whole picture while you only see a piece. They don't tell you that character is more important than charisma, that integrity matters more than gifting, that how you live behind closed doors carries more weight in heaven than how you perform in public. Chosen people aren't called to impress the world. They're called to reflect Christ, to walk in purity when no one's watching, to be the same in secret as they are in the spotlight. Because when you've been marked by God, you care more about his heart than your image. They don't tell you that success in the kingdom doesn't always look like success in the world. That you might never be famous, that you might never be celebrated, that your ministry might not look like anyone else's. But chosen people don't measure their impact by numbers or applause. They measure it by obedience, by faithfulness, by fruit that lasts. Because what's done for man fades, but what's done for God echoes in eternity. They don't tell you that surrender is not a one-time thing. It's a daily decision that every morning you'll have to lay down your will again. Lay down your plans again. Lay down your pride again. And every time you do, he will meet you with fresh grace, fresh mercy, fresh fire. Because chosen people live in constant communion, constantly depending on him, knowing they can't do it alone. They don't tell you that you'll often feel the burden of things before you see the breakthrough. That you'll carry a word in your spirit for months, or even years before it comes to pass. But that's the nature of the prophetic. You feel it before others do. You see it before it manifests. And in that space between revelation and reality, God is teaching you to wait, to walk by faith, to trust his promises even when nothing around you aligns with what he said. They don't tell you that revival starts with repentance, that the fire of God won't fall on dirty altars, that before he uses you to cleanse others, he'll cleanse you. He'll call you to holiness, to purity, to die to yourself, to your ego, to your hidden sins, because the oil flows through clean vessels. And if you truly want to be used, you must be willing to be purified. Not for performance, but for presence. They don't tell you that chosen people often battle doubt in silence, that they wrestle with questions others are too afraid to ask. Did I really hear God? Am I qualified? Oh, why me? But even in the midst of doubt, they keep moving. They keep praying. They keep trusting. Because faith is not the absence of doubt, it's choosing to believe in the face of it. And that kind of faith pleases God. They don't tell you that comparison will try to kill your calling, that the enemy will whisper, look at them, look how far they are, look how fast they're moving. But chosen people know that God writes custom stories, that your pace has purpose, that delay does not mean denial. That even in the waiting, he is working. So they stop striving and start surrendering, because comparison breeds discontent, but trust births peace. They don't tell you that your greatest ministry might come from your greatest pain, that the places where you are wounded are the very places where God will use you to heal others, that the tears you cried in private will water someone else's breakthrough, that your scars will become testimonies. And that's why chosen people don't hide their brokenness, they offer it. They let God redeem it, and in doing so, they become living proof that he really does bring beauty from ashes. They don't tell you that sometimes you'll pour and pour and pour and pour, and no one will pour back, that you'll love deeply and still be misunderstood, that you'll give without return. But chosen people don't give to be noticed. They give because they are filled by the Spirit, sustained by the Word, strengthened by grace. They are rivers, not reservoirs, and their source is not people, it's God. They don't tell you that joy is a weapon, that laughter in the face of trials is an act of war, that peace in the midst of storms confuses the enemy. And chosen people learn to fight differently, not with fists or fury, but with worship, with praise, Because when you understand who you are and whose you are, you don't need to fear the fire, you dance in it. They don't tell you that God's favor doesn't mean life will be easy. It means life will be effective, that you'll face resistance, but you'll have resilience, that you'll be attacked, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. Because chosen people are battle-tested, storm-trained, fireproofed, not because of their strength, but because of the one who lives within them. They don't tell you that some doors are tests, not opportunities, that not every invitation is divine, that discernment is more valuable than ambition. Chosen people don't chase open doors. They wait for divine ones. They pray before they move. They seek peace before they say yes, because they understand that one wrong yes can cost them years. And when you're chosen, time is too precious to waste. They don't tell you that your life will be a seed, that you will die to your desires so others can live, that you will give up what you wanted so others can gain what they need. But in that sacrifice and that surrender, you will find joy deeper than anything this world can offer. Because in the kingdom, the way up is down. The way forward is through the cross, and the greatest among you will be the servant of all. They don't tell you that the anointing costs more than you think, that it will demand your time, your tears, your comfort, your convenience, but you'll give it all gladly. Because once you've experienced his glory, once you've walked with him through the valley and the mountaintop, nothing else will ever satisfy. You'll be ruined for the ordinary, set apart, marked for life, not because you are great, but because he is. Let me know if you'd like to keep going another round or move on to anything else. Editing, refining, breaking it into sections for delivery, or even adding scripture references. They don't tell you that being chosen will sometimes feel like being forgotten. That God will hide you in plain sight, not because he's punishing you, but because he's preserving you. He's protecting you from premature exposure. He's growing your roots before he reveals your fruit. He's building your character before he amplifies your voice. Because the deeper the calling, the deeper the preparation. And chosen people must be willing to be invisible for a season, knowing that when it's God's time, no one can stop what he has ordained. They don't tell you that you'll have to learn to be content with not being understood, that people will question your motives. They'll misread your silence. They'll assume things about your journey they could never comprehend. But chosen people live for an audience of one. They're not swayed by public opinion because their confidence is in God's affirmation. They've been in the secret place. They've heard his whisper. And that's enough to silence every other voice. They don't tell you that sometimes your spirit will outgrow the room you're in, that what once fed you will no longer satisfy you, that God will begin to stir a holy discontent in your soul. Not because you're ungrateful, but because he's calling you higher. He's stretching you, elevating you, preparing you to step into something greater. And chosen people must be willing to outgrow comfort zones for the sake of the kingdom. Because growth often requires departure, leaving what is good to pursue what is God. They don't tell you that spiritual warfare doesn't always look like demons and darkness. Sometimes it looks like weariness, like confusion, like delay after delay, like doors that almost open but never quite do. It looks like discouragement at just the wrong time. But chosen people learn to recognize these moments not as defeats, but as distractions. They press in deeper, they pray harder, they remind themselves that the greatest resistance often comes right before the greatest release. They don't tell you that your heart will break more easily, that the closer you get to God, the softer your heart becomes. You'll feel the pain of others in ways you didn't before. You'll carry burdens that don't belong to you just because his spirit in you is moved with compassion. And this kind of love, it's not human, it's not natural, it's divine. And it's costly, but chosen people embrace it because they know love is the language of heaven and mercy is the fingerprint of God. They don't tell you that forgiveness will become a daily act, that as God begins to elevate you, people will hurt you, betray you, misrepresent you, and your flesh will want justice. But the Spirit will whisper, let it go. Not for them, but for you. Because bitterness clogs the flow of blessing, and chosen people can't afford to carry offense. Their hands must remain open, ready to receive, ready to give, ready to release what would only weigh them down. They don't tell you that your hunger for the word will increase in strange way, that verses you've read 100 times will suddenly come alive, that you'll crave revelation like food, that you'll wake up in the night with scriptures burning in your heart. Because when you're chosen, God begins to teach you himself. He begins to reveal mysteries to you, not so you can serve, so you can serve, so you can feed others, so you can rightly divide truth in a world starving for it. They don't tell you that being chosen won't exempt you from storms. In fact, it might attract them. You'll find yourself in situations that make no sense, caught in winds you didn't cause. But in those moments, you'll also discover his faithfulness in a deeper way. Because the storm doesn't define the chosen, it reveals their trust, their faith, their resilience. And with every storm that passes, your roots grow deeper, your worship louder, your calling clearer. They don't tell you that sometimes God will take everything away just to show you that he is everything. That when the props are gone and the applause stops, he remains. That when the doors close and the lights dim, his presence still fills the room. And in those moments of divine stripping, chosen people come alive because they were never in it for the platform. They were in it for the presence, for the glory, for the joy of simply being his. They don't tell you that peace isn't always the absence of problems. It's the presence of Jesus. And chosen people learn to carry that peace like a shield. Through deadlines, through diagnosis, through delays, through betrayal. They learn to walk in it, speak from it, rest in it. Because they know who holds the future. And because they've surrendered the need to understand everything, they've gained the ability to trust through anything. They don't tell you that part of your calling will be to confront things others run from. That you'll be asked to speak truth when lies are more popular. To stand firm when compromise feels easier. But chosen people are not called to be liked. They're called to be light. And light doesn't ask for permission to show up, and darkness has to flee. They don't tell you that you'll grieve deeply at times, not just for what you've lost, but for what others don't yet see, for what the world has turned into, for how far people have drifted from God. It's a holy grief, a burden born from seeing what he sees and feeling what he feels. And while it hurts, chosen people count it as a privilege, because to carry his heart is the highest calling of all. They don't tell you that your life will challenge others just by being obedient, that your consecration will convict, that your worship will disturb people who've grown numb, that your faith will offend those who've settled for comfort. Chosen people don't dim their light to make others feel better. They shine brighter, they live louder, they burn with such intensity that others can't help but be drawn to the flame. They don't tell you that your greatest victories will often be the ones no one sees. The prayer you prayed when you didn't feel like it. The temptation you resisted when no one would have known. The kindness you extended in the face of cruelty. These are the wins that matter in heaven. And chosen people celebrate them, not for recognition, but because they know heaven saw. And heaven's applause is all they ever needed. They don't tell you that obedience will cost you more than you think, but disobedience will cost you even more. That the road God asks you to walk will be narrow and comfortable, even lonely at times. But every step you take in obedience builds something eternal. Every yes echoes through generations. Every surrender writes a legacy that can't be erased. They don't tell you that you'll become a mirror. That when people look at you, they'll see glimpses of God. Not because you're perfect, but because you're yielded. And that's what it means to be chosen, not to be idolized, but to reflect his glory, to live in such a way that your life whispers, he is real, he is good, he is faithful. They don't tell you that the most powerful thing you can ever be is fully surrendered, that you don't need a title to have authority, you don't need a pulpit to preach, you don't need a platform to change lives. All you need is a yes, a willing heart, an open hand. Because God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And if you're chosen, he will use you in ways that surpass your understanding and exceed your wildest dreams. Let me know if you want to continue building on this, edit anything, or develop it into a full video script, voiceover, or written post. So if you find yourself wrestling in the quiet, if you feel misunderstood, stretched, or set apart, know this. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. And being chosen has never been about comfort, applause, or convenience. It's been about purpose. It's about carrying something holy in a world that's losing its way. It's about walking a narrow path, lit not by the lights of the crowd, but by the flame of his spirit inside you. You are not called to blend in. You are called to stand out. You are not called to survive. You are called to overcome. And when the burden feels heavy, when the journey feels long, when your soul cries out in secret places, remember he sees. He knows, and he walks beside you. You are chosen not because you are flawless, but because you said yes, and that yes will echo through eternity. So walk boldly, live humbly, pray fiercely, love deeply, and never forget what God has placed on you no man can take away. The world may not tell you this, but heaven does. You are chosen, and for that, you are never alone. Let me know if you'd like this conclusion adjusted for video, a quote graphic, or woven into something else.